So we're on day 4, working into some more urban stuff, and what we're going to be working on today is barriers and edges with some surface transitions. So you've obviously got some clear, good trailing behavior here on this wonderful surface. You can see when he's directly on top of the track, and then also when he's working the fringe of some basic trailing odor. So going from our island hopping exercise that we did on the last session, we're just extending the distance a little bit and some of the complexity. Okay, so you notice how he goes all the way heads up right here. He didn't even have any odor necessarily in the middle of the road, but he definitely picked it up on the other side on the lawn. So basically that's what he's doing here. Now, one of the things that's happening is he's getting a lot of heads up behavior, far more than normal. We didn't really see this so much in the last couple of videos. And I'm not exactly sure why this is. Is this because of the conditions during the day, or is it because he's just getting a lot of air scent? Hard to really say. I'm going to have to kind of see how this evolves over the next little bit on this track. So great job flipping the lead out from here and not impeding his forward progress in that process. And then again here on this post, you do a real good job of not checking him, even though he does wrap around this post relatively quickly. So good job on both lead handling conditions. This was very nice. Now, he's out of odor here. You can tell by his behavior he really doesn't have much of anything. He's hunting and he's searching. He's just not really picking anything up. There's something going on with the conditions here today that are different than really anything else that we've dealt with. And honestly, I think it's air scent, but I just don't know exactly where it's coming from. He's getting bits and pieces of something on the air as it's enveloping and wrapping around the building. And he's chasing that scent as far as it might go. But the track in his mind is just not existing here, at least at this moment. So what he's doing here is he's circling back to the spot where he definitely had some odor. You know, remember when he jumped up on this wall, and now he's detailing it. And this is actually common with a lot of dogs. When they miss a turn or they lose the track, they're going to circle back to the place they last really had it. And I'm pretty positive that's the case because you can kind of see him detailing this right here. So I think your subject did exactly this, came to this area and then jumped over the top of it. And you know, he definitely he's getting some really good odor here. This is far better nose down behavior than what we had before. And I think it's indicative of the fact that he had really good scent. I can't really blame him for this. If he sees any movement or his reflection, and especially if he's never done this before, you're going to have some interest in that movement. I'm not exactly sure if he's seeing somebody in there or it's just his reflection from a distance. But still, you know, what's interesting here is something's pulling him back this direction. And I really think he's getting air scent. And I think it could be because of the general direction your subject actually went around this building. He almost did a U shape, and I think some of his air scent is actually coming back into the alcoves of this building. We'll take a look at it more here in the future. You know, so what I do like about everything from a lead handling perspective is you're letting him investigate and hit any negatives that he might have. You know, so he's checking these places out. He's looking for odor. He's not finding it. But you're not stopping him from looking. And that's really important because as long as he doesn't appear that he doesn't know what he's looking for, we need to let him try to work this out on his own, especially if it's an air scent problem that we're dealing with, because that air scent's keeping him, his interest, it's keeping him focused. he still knows what he's looking for. It's just a matter of getting back to the track line somehow. So, my impression is he's trying to find an alternative way around. He lost the track line. He's abandoned that, and he's staying close to wherever that air scent really was hitting hard. And the problem is that location, there wasn't a way around. He was stuck in a corner. So he's trying to find a way out over here on the road, but the problem is there's zero odor for him. So he's forced to go back to the building where this air scent is really laying up. Now watch this behavior in here. Doesn't go very far. He really doesn't. And he goes over into this pocket, into this corner, and I think it's because he's getting a lot of odor in here. But look at this barrier. He can't get through, and he knows it. He wants to get back over to that little grass section, but can't make it through, so he's working here, okay? And he's just going to keep checking and checking and checking until he can find his way out of here. So this is one of those situations that if he can't do it on its own, we might want to just walk him around the corner of that staircase, because in his little pea brain, it's a barrier that he can't get through. He doesn't understand that there's that little strip of gravel that can kind of go around the staircase and then get back into odor. You can see by his body language we're starting to lose him a little bit, but check this behavior out right here. All of a sudden he gets this strip of gravel through and he can get back to where he had odor before. Great athletic movement by you. Nice work. And obviously it just distracted him a little bit, but no big deal because he gets right back to work. So he's getting a little frustrated because this has been a difficult problem, but he picks up your track line right here pretty decently. It's not as great as he'd like it, and I think, again, it's because of air scent. I mean, you can see some of this behavior right there. The air scent hits him, and it's actually dragging him around the corner of the building. Little track line right here. He's doing really quite nicely. But I think what we're dealing with is a big combination of air scent and track, and it's blowing his mind. It's making him have some difficulty in staying to the track. And this is actually a really good exercise, but perhaps it might be just a little bit too much for him at this stage of the game. Unfortunately, you don't really have too much of a choice because he's in odor and he's working, and we have to follow him. So good odor inside here in this pocket. Our trail air went in here. It's obvious. But because it's such a narrow space with multiple surfaces, you end up getting just a big pocket of odor for him. So there's no clear direction of travel in, no clear direction of travel out. It's just a big scent picture. Now watch this behavior coming up. It's like he's trying to find a way through here, but he's unsure if he can get through. And then watch this here. This is either contact odor on the bushes, or he's detecting odor on the other side of the bushes through that gap. So he's trying to hunt for a way through right now, and watch him find it. It's actually pretty cool. To me, this looks like track odor. It looks like he just picked it up along the edge of the building right here. I know we have a GPS line that doesn't show this. It looks like it was more in and out, but I think this could be your track line, and he was smelling the odor from the other side of the bushes, and that's why he went in there. So I think we've definitely gotten to some good tracking behavior, but all of a sudden it's going to change, and watch this coming up. Nice little Stevie Wonder head wave, a little bit of air scent more than likely. That's what dragged him over there to the left, but I think your track line is over here. So it was kind of hard to tell exactly what's dragging him down here because it looked like he definitely had some tracking behavior. But sometimes tracking behavior can manifest itself as air scent because if that air scent has laid down on the ground, he's going to have nose lower to the ground. But look at that right there. See? Fresh air scent. I think it's air scent that dragged him here. And again, I think it's primarily due to the U-shaped track that your trail layer did. And what Ronin's trying to do is to cut this track in half. He's trying to use his air scent to get there, but I think there's too many barriers and there's too many breaks in the wind, and there's absolutely no scent cone for him to use, so he can't do it. He's forced to go back to the track. And you can see all that odor disappearing right here. Everything is gone. He wants to find it, but it's gone. He doesn't know where to go. Look at that building he's right in front of. I think that has a lot to do with it. That building is breaking up that air scent picture. And what that little fresh burst of wind that he had back there in the little picnic area was lost as soon as he got around the building. Okay, so here you can see where he tried to cut the gap. And if you draw a line right where your subject is to that point, we see a distance of 164 meters. So this is what we call hunting behavior. He doesn't have a track, he doesn't have an air scent. He's trying to find it again. He's just not in a productive source of odor. He's no longer on the track line and he's no longer where that air scent occurred. And so his only other choice, if he can do it, is to go back to where he had track. Now let's see if he has the wherewithal to do it. This is not following scent, but it's obviously going somewhere with a purpose. And I think it's because he knows where that track line was, or he's detecting it from a distance and is heading to it. That is until this happens. And this is clearly an animal distraction, a dog distraction. Watch how he's just planting his nose, and that tail really dropped quite a bit lower. More than likely, it was another dog or something just peed there. Now, he left it on his own, which was quite great, and you are right back on his track line and doing pretty good. But I think one of the big issues here is he's definitely getting a lot of wind-blown odor, and he's trying to find that. Look at that, right there. You got another big air scent. It's coming, wrapping around the building, and it's why he's pushing back into this area. And the only thing I can say is that I think it's because of that U-shaped turn that your subject did in this complex. His air scent is just filtering back in into too many places. It was pretty hard to say with the map because I think the GPS was being a little bit screwy because of the buildings here. But I think this could actually be your backtrack or the track line of our subject, and Ronin is working it in a backtrack fashion. Not uncommon based on everything that he just dealt with. I don't know if you noticed it, but we have a little bit of a pattern. And one of the things that's happening is that when he gets into these pockets that have a combination of pool scent and then also track scent, that sometimes he gets stuck there for a while and does a lot of circling. So you have air scent, pool scent, track scent, and he just stays in this area. And it's because it's a concentration of odor, and that concentration of odor is sometimes hard to get out of. And that's actually one of the purposes of this exercise is to learn how to use productive sources and lots of surface transitions, but also how to deal with the conflicts that you get when you are in an urban environment, which is going to be a combination of air scent, pool scent, and track scent. The dog has to be able to go back and forth seamlessly. Now, when we patterned this track going through these alcoves in this building sections, it was a little hairy in the first one, a little less so on the second, and then as he progresses, it gets better and better and better. Definitely some track line odor right here. And watch what happens when he gets to the end. He reaches this barrier and he's trying to find a way through. He sees the barrier, a little unsure of what to do, and then right through. This is indicative of scent work. A dog's not going to just drive through here without having odor. And notice how he just perused the bushes right here. I think this is a lot of contact scent that we have in this place. So I think he's working to the fringe of odor here, and it literally just runs out and he's forced to come back. And as he gets in here, he starts zeroing in on more odor because you can see the intensity and lower nose to the ground. Here comes your track line, I think. Watch this. Okay, so he's getting into a nice scent picture, starts to pull the track line, and then reverses course and comes back to where I actually think your subject came through, right here. Backtrack slightly, and then hits your track line right here. So we get back to a much better productive source, and of course we're getting a little bit better behavior in here. You don't have all those surface transitions. And it becomes a little bit easier for him for the rest of the track, actually. Until we start running into some more air scent problems, they're going to be a little bit further down past this building. So obviously you're feeling better about this too because you're speeding up now. And I think that this is because all of the trouble that we just had probably created just a little bit of concern in your mind. And so as soon as he starts working great on that track line again, you're really wanting him to keep that going. And so I think you're speeding up for this reason. And what you have to remember to do is back off just a little bit and slow down. Try to keep a nice, easy pace. You have to understand that the faster you move and the closer you stay behind him, you actually end up pushing him a little bit. And sometimes this can be problematic in the dog's mind. He's working all these problems for a reason. It's because he's never really encountered them before. And, you know, we have this stair-step ladder of similar problems from beginning to end that he's cutting through each time. Now, here's your air scent again, right there. Nice big air scent. He's trying to find a way through it. He doesn't know how to do it. Look at it right there. Nice big air scent, and he is trying to find a way through. Problem is, it's no scent cone, none whatsoever. Now, most of what happens here, and for a good portion of the video to come, is all air scent based. He knows he's getting close, and it's all basically scent that's on the wind. The problem is there's no cone. You just have patches of odor that are there and then they're gone. Here's kind of an example. Got a nice picture of scent here and then it went away. He'd love to be able to find a way to bracket into it on a scent cone, but that scent cone doesn't exist at this point. And he's so far past the track line, he can't use that either. Now, what happens in this type of situation is the dog is forced to use calculation in such a way to get that air scent picture back. And if it never does, hopefully they can cross that track line once again. And if they can't cross that track line, then the handler has to have the wherewithal and the geographical memory of where they last had a good track and get the dog to that location. Now, in training like this, we really want the dog to make all the decisions possible based on odor and based on their own calculation, not necessarily us helping. If the dog gets used to us helping in training, then a lot of times they'll actually manipulate that later on. And it's better if the dog just fails in some situations and we try not to help very much. Watch this. We get a little bit of track line right here on the cement. Not much. It doesn't last for very long, but he's definitely getting odor on the concrete and then it dissipates and go away. This is really, really common when we have multiple surfaces in a relatively small space and coupled with the fact that we're having tons of air scent problems in the middle of it. the dogs naturally and have a tendency to want to default to air scent if it's available. And the reason for this is because it means the subject's closer, they're going to get to the end sooner. This is why they do that. They're going to abandon the track for that air scent if at all possible. It's just a normal dog reaction. So now we have the beginnings of detection of the track line again, and he's starting to detect it from a distance. He's zeroing in on it, and you're going to see the actual behavior when he picks it up and starts to follow it, which is right here. We're going to get another interruption of the track, and we're going to go back to dealing with some air scent. And the air scent is looking a little funky because the dog's nose is so low to the ground. And that's because we're dealing with the pool scent. You're right now, I think, in the pool scent of the subject. It's spreading out and around this building and into the parking lot a little bit. He's having to deal with all this large amount of odor in a relatively small amount of space. And the problem with that is that pool scent will trump the track line. He's going to default to the fresher pool scent and abandon the track line. This is just what dogs naturally do. Now, what's so important about this exercise is that he has the ability to work this out on his own. Okay, when a dog works into a scent pool, has to work the perimeter of it, and then finds his way in, it's really a big win. It's a solution to a problem that they managed all on their own and without your help. The worst thing in the world to do is to try to fix the problem and bring the dog back to where that track was. It was air scent and pool scent that created the problem, and he needs to try to solve that problem on his own. And that's exactly what he does. And I really think you do a great job of just letting him have the freedom to work this out. So he's completely at the edge of the odor, but he remembers where it came from. And so he heads back to that direction, picks up a little bit. But the pool scent is filtering out into the parking lot, and there's no clear scent cone to get in, and he's actually nowhere near the track line. So there's no way for him to really solve this other than through calculation. And he doesn't have a lot of experience at that yet, and that's only going to come through repetition in these types of exercises. So let's take a look at what's happening here. So my black line is what I'm imagining the scent pool to be here. It could be bigger or smaller, but this is just the general shape. And I'm basing this a lot on the air scent picture that we had from the lower portion of the screen where he almost bisected the track completely. I think what's happening is we're getting a fair amount of fresh odor that's filtering through here, and he's reaching just the edge of the barriers there in the end of the parking lot. Now, later in the video, you're going to see as he starts getting closer, all of a sudden his animation changes, his intensity changes, and he zeroes right into it. But the scent cone was nowhere near the parking lot area where we were at. It was actually closer to the hiding point where your subject was actually at. So we're definitely at the edge here. You know, he doesn't really have any more odor. He's been doing a lot of hunting, starting to get a little frustrated, and I think he's just starting to shut down a little bit. This trail's really been quite difficult for him because the air scent picture has been so extreme in so many places. And even though it's great training and it's a really good situation for him to learn from, I think at his age and his experience level, this one might have just been a little bit too difficult. And it's not because so much the location, but the simple fact that the subject made a big U, ultimately speaking, and a lot of his air scent from his hiding location was filtering back to much of the track itself.
Come back this way, mate. You're following ghosts.
Now, I'm not sure if you knew where the track was or you just had really great memory on where the track line was, but you put them in just the perfect spot to get going again. So I have to commend you for that because it does help him to get right back online and to solve this problem. Okay, so right around here you get another air scent picture, and it starts at this point right here, and it's going to drag him around the corner of the building, and you're going to really see the big proximity alert as we get to that corner. It's going to be coming up here in just a quick second, and your speed's going to accelerate quite a bit, and now it's all air scent to the end. Also explains why we had such a problem going into this area to begin with. I think your scent is wrapping around that building and filtering all through the area he had been at before. So this is just a really, really tough track for him, but really a great one too. Really, it was a lot of work. I'm surprised that he was able to complete so much that he actually did on his own. Um, and really a good job. But let's try to set this up exactly the same way again, but without this U-shaped track. I think that U-shaped track was just a little bit too much from an air scent perspective at this stage of the game. And what I'd really like to see is a little bit more detailing in the surface changes that we're not getting because of the air scent. So let's go back to the same type of track, same type of location, but not exactly the same location. And instead of a U shape going around, let's have more of a linear straight direction of travel.